What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so apparently there is a coup attempt underway right now, currently, as I'm speaking, as a matter of fact. Check this out. Fired State Department bureaucrats reportedly using their regime change skills to sabotage Trump. Oh, this is a fascinating article, y'all. Let's get into it, because I just want to bounce right into this and just take off. Current and former USAID and State Department officials are using their expertise in undermining authoritarian regimes abroad against President Donald Trump and his agenda at home, according to a new report Monday. The Trump administration is still in the process of terminating thousands of United States Agency for International Development workers by September as the agency restructures to fall in line with the president's America First policy. Notice reporter Jose Pagliari reported, however, that some of the democracy-building experts President Donald Trump fired this year from the U.S. Agency for International Development and the State Department are now reapplying the skills and knowledge they built up over decades to undermine Trump's power. So this is fascinating. I wonder where they got this report from. Once again, folks, when you get reports like this, these massively sensational headlines. Okay, so they're not naming their sources. I've read the article. They're not naming their sources. So you must think. This is really, really fantastical news. Now, I wouldn't put it past Democrats, and I'm not saying just ignore this, but take it with not just a grain of salt, maybe a pinch of salt, maybe several grains of salt, because it could be true. We do know that there are Biden holdovers and Obama holdovers and, Democrats that work in the federal government that are constantly trying to undermine Donald Trump's authority, right? Authoritarian regime, if you will. So you got to love this. They're using their democracy-building expertise, folks. What does that mean? My question for that would be just immediately, why do we have democracy-building experts? Good question, I would think. Good question. One anonymous current federal official, so this guy's apparently still employed with the federal government. What I find fascinating, I know I just came off of a rant, but what I find fascinating about this, I'm going to get this out of the way right fast, is, these people, okay, hang on, there's no laws, no federal laws at least, against prosecuting reporters for withholding the identities of their sources. So if you have saboteurs, essentially, which is what they're getting at, they are seditionists, that's a crime. That's a major crime, as a matter of fact. So there's no laws against that. Why would these people actively undermine their own operation and tell a reporter so they can write a fantastical news article about this? And this is coming from Fox. Now, Fox is reporting on Notice, whatever that is. I don't know what Notice is, but it said Notice Reporter, so maybe that's some publication. I'm not 100% sure, but what's fascinating, why would they spill the beans about this, knowing that they're going to publish this headline, knowing that they're going to publish this article and it's going to get out there, and then you're going to tip the government off to what you're doing? Are these people just like massive narcissists and think that, they're arrogant? Oh, well, they're going to withhold my identity. I don't have anything to worry about. Fascinating. Like I said, folks, grain of salt. Several grains. As a matter of fact, a handful of salt. Because, once again, we know that from Trump's first term, many people undermine Donald Trump's administration on a consistent basis. We've seen the videos coming from, as a matter of fact, James O'Keefe has several of these videos, undercover investigative reports about CIA agents withholding information from Trump, blah, 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 blah. Like, if you don't know who James O'Keefe is, you're living under a rock. Go follow OMG, by the way. It's fascinating. One anonymous current federal official warned to Notice, "Take it from those of us who worked in authoritarian countries. We've become one," he added. "They were so quick to disband AID, the group that supposedly investigates color revolutions." Why? Why do we have a group that investigates color revolutions? Once again, why do we have our tentacles so deeply entrenched to the rest of the world when we really shouldn't? But they've done a very foolish thing. You've just released a bunch of well-trained individuals into your population. If you kept our offices going and had us play solitaire in the office, it might have been safer to keep your regime. Get this, folks. Why would we want these people working within the government, having government resources and government backing? Once again, these people are massive narcissists, if they're real. Put it that way. Massive narcissists. Just, they have to be. They have to be the narcissist of narcissism. Like, narcissism incarnate, essentially. Because you're just going to go spilling the beans, and you think that if you would have kept your job, that you wouldn't be trying to undermine Donald Trump's authoritarian regime? No, I'm sorry. Like, that's just foolish to think. It's naive of people if you buy into that right there. This guy's just lying to say, oh, well, we would have been just sitting on our hands, not doing anything if he would have kept our jobs. What? Former officials reportedly told the news outlet that they are holding workshops on a tactic called non-cooperation. They're building a network of government workers willing to engage in even minor acts of rebellion in the office. And they're planting the seeds of what they hope could become a nationwide general strike. Yeah, you go ahead and do that. Once again, folks, these narcissists are giving the blueprint, telling the government what they're doing, how they're doing it. Watch, you'll see here in a second. And then, okay, so do you expect, like, go ahead, hold these workshops, tell these people to not cooperate. There you go. And what the Donald Trump administration is going to do is, as soon as they get any sort of whiff of non-cooperation, you're fired. Insubordination, right off the top. You just got a bunch of people in the federal government fired, my dude, because you're so narcissist and, frankly, stupid. Some in the informal network of Trump opponents are sharing an old CIA pamphlet with allies who still work in the government. It's called Simple Sabotage, the reporter added. Yeah, you would do this in a foreign country, though. You wouldn't do this to your own country, right? Once again, folks, these people are evil. Like, they want to sabotage their own country, not knowing the results. Right? Like, what if they actually pull off some sort of coup attempt and topple the government? Like, I know that's kind of far-fetched, but at the same time, don't think it can't happen. Right? So what if, by chance, they would want to see this nation crumble to the ground? Like I always say, folks, and it's been said by many people many different times, the issue is never the issue. The issue is always the revolution. These people, I have a feeling, are communists, but it is what it is. This community, Notice reported, is composed of diplomats and human rights activists who were once on the U.S. government payroll encouraging Latin American dissidents to fight dictators and supporting African independence movements. They were involved to varying degrees with an ultimately successful uprising in the Middle East. One group that Notice cited was Democracy Aid. I love this. You gotta love the names that Democrats, they always throw democracy. They throw democracy in everything, right? Like, if you ever wanted to open a cereal company, right, and target Democrats with your cereal, Democracy O's. I don't know, I came up with that joke a long time ago. I know it's not funny. Admonish me in the comments. Go ahead. I don't care. Which has no formal website or legal entity so far, but is already hosting invite-only workshops with federal employees who hear about them from friends, vetting each person before they're allowed into a trusted circle and teaching them case studies like the Danish underground insurgency against the Nazi occupation. You knew it had to come into play at some point, folks. Ro Tucci, the former director of the USAID Center for Democracy, Human Rights and Governance, who co-leads Democracy Aid, teaches workshops on what she calls Authoritarianism 101 and the ways to resist it, starting with small community organization and ideally ending in a massive strike. Deputy White House Press Secretary Anna Kelly condemned such efforts in a statement to Notice, saying it is inherently undemocratic for unelected bureaucrats to undermine the duly elected president of the United States and the agenda he was given a mandate to implement. I love this. Like, no, seriously, tell these people to do it. Have these people go on strike. Because do you people really think that you're so narcissistic that Donald Trump would not just fire every single one of you people that went on strike? Or at least try to. You're put on leave. Like, seriously, we're going through, as a matter of fact, my next video is talking about the Supreme Court just greenlit Donald Trump firing as many employees as he wants to, essentially. As many that law will allow, basically. But we'll get into the particulars on it. But do you really think that if you go on strike that Donald Trump and his administration is just going to capitulate to your demands? I think not, folks. They were voted. The mandate Donald Trump was given: secure the southern border, fix the economy, and downsize the federal government. Sorry, that wasn't pointed at you guys. It just happened to how I do it. Sorry. Right? But that's what everything is pointing to, is getting rid of federal employees. So you guys go ahead, go on strike, do what you got to do. That's what I would say to these people. And once again, the narcissism of thinking that, oh, they would have been better off. Donald Trump would have been better off to keep these people employed. Are you freaking kidding me? While supporters within the administration are resolute, they will accomplish their agenda despite internal resistance. Notice claims that several rebellious insiders are making Star Wars references about their attempts to disrupt Trump's agenda. Oh Lord, Donald Trump is the Senate, I guess. Fascism is not creative. True. A former government expert in conflict told the outlet, there's only so many ways to do it. That's why it's almost cliche to the point where we ask, what are we? Darth Vader? The Empire? The Nazis? What is wrong with these people, man? Like, yes, as a matter of fact, you guys are. You guys are the Nazis. You forget, like, you guys screaming about socialism. That's what the Nazi Party was, the Socialist Party of Germany. I forget the entire, what it was called. I forget the complete name right off the top of my head because I'm thinking about so many other different things right now. But it was a Socialist Party. I know they had some really weird views on a lot of really weird stuff. We'll put it that way. But, you know, they were just evil incarnate. And that's how I see a lot of these Democrats. They're allergic to facts, which means they're allergic to reality. It is what it is, though. You know, that they undermine themselves by spilling the beans because they're so narcissistic that they think that they can spill the beans and get away with it. They think that Donald Trump will capitulate to their demands if they trick people into going on strike in the federal government, undermining the administration, undermining the federal government, trying to destroy the United States, the federal government. Sabotage. Do you think that you won't get a sedition charge? Like, given this information right here, like, don't be surprised, folks, seriously, when some sedition charges come down the pipeline. The comparisons draw ridicule because people who don't know enough about it don't realize there aren't too many ways to do it. So the tactics to counter them will still work. And oh, God. And there's way more ways to be creative. That's funny, you know, and they're right about that. The only problem with that mindset right there, like they're thinking that, oh, well, we can be creative because fascists aren't creative. Well, hang on. I mean, that would be applicable if Donald Trump was a fascist. But once again, you know, they're allergic to reality, So they don't understand that Donald Trump isn't a fascist. Once again, they say, oh, we're under an authoritarian regime right now. Do you think that just started, what, 6 months ago, 7 months ago? Do you think we just all of a sudden on January 20th became an authoritarian regime? You think the whole of government just changed overnight? If we are an authoritarian regime, we've been an authoritarian regime for decades, folks. It doesn't happen overnight like that. I'm sorry. Sure, you might think it does, but that's toppling of governments. It'll phase into an authoritarian regime overnight, but not one such as the United States. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen overnight. You can sell that to somebody else. A senior State Department official told Fox News Digital the State Department is not aware of these reports, but always takes our national security seriously. We will continue to take every precaution to protect the State Department from internal and external threats. Yeah, that's all to that one, folks. But, I mean, that's just a general consensus. But once again, going back to grain of salt, like, this just sounds really, really fantastical, and I'm not saying that it's not true, and I'm not saying there aren't people stupid enough and narcissistic enough to get out there and tell a reporter their plans to topple the government, to topple, or what they called, democracy building and toppling an authoritarian regime, because Donald Trump to them is a fascist. It's fascinating, and I'm loving it. I'm loving all of this, right? So, but once again, folks, grain of salt, several grains of salt, because as we know, there are many people that actively attempt to undermine Donald Trump's administration and his authority. I mean, we've currently had a judicial coup going on in this country. The Supreme Court come in and fix that. So we're not going to be seeing any more nationwide injunctions, not unless there's a really, really, really good reason. It's a high bar, a very high bar to set. But I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all of this down in the comment section. Blew my mind when I saw this. And I'm thinking, like, holy crap, this is wild. Now, I read the story and I'm, thinking as I'm reading and whatever, and I'm like, hang on, this is kind of not making much sense here. Either these people are just extremely dumb and narcissistic, or it's not true, right? So take it however you want. I'm not sure what to think, to be honest with you. Like, it really would not surprise me at all if it was true. But once again, we know that the corporate press, and yeah, that was Fox, by the way, but there's still a corporate press outlet, and that they're still not past, confidential sources told us this. Once again, I always ridicule that, because they always want to speak of the condition of anonymity for some reason. Oh, we're not going to reveal our sources. Because they don't have to. They know they can make up a story and just throw it out there, and it'll be forgot by next week. So y'all take all that in and think about it. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comment section. That's all I got on this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. I would appreciate that. Share this video all over the place. And sign up. Become a member. That would be wonderful if y'all could do that for me. I would really, really appreciate that, y'all. But y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical.